studying about Samson, and he seemed to have spent more time in the Philistine cities than in the Israelite cities. The Bible says that he judged Israel for 20 years, but I have to wonder about how good of a judge he was, since it doesn't seem like he was in Israel very much, and he doesn't come across as the wisest person the planet has ever seen.
I generally like my leaders better when they're not, remember?
Well, then maybe. He spent the night in a Philistine town, and the Philistines realized he was there, their armies realized he was there, and at night, walled cities would shut the gates so no one could get in or out, and that would keep them from being attacked in the middle of the night. So the Philistine army was waiting outside the gate, so in the morning they could go in and kill Samson. Well, he woke up at midnight, and he went out to the gate, and he picked it up, gate posts, beam over the top and everything, and he carried it to the top of the hill outside the city, and he began killing Philistines. He killed over 1,000 Philistines, just because he could.
Again, is there drugs involved?
No, there are not drugs. To our knowledge, there are not drugs involved. But God came on him, gave him the strength to be able to do that. He took refuge in a Judean city to hide from the Philistines. And the Philistines came and they surrounded the city and they said, people need to send Samson out to us so we can kill him, because he's killed a lot of us. And the leaders of the city went to Samson and they said, we're going to tie you up now and take you out to the Philistines. And Samson said, you know what? Promise me you won't hurt me, but only turn me over to the Philistines, and I'll let you tie me up. So they tied him up. They put brand new ropes on him, so they were good and strong and flexible and good ropes, and they took him out to the Philistine army, and Samson went like this, and all the ropes fell off, and he beat up the Philistines again and killed them. I have to wonder, though, what would have happened if instead of tying him up and turning him over to the Philistines, the Judeans had picked up their weapons and said, we'll go out with you and we'll fight the Philistines. Would they have been freed from Philistine? They didn't have a lot of faith that God would deliver them, even with this Hercules kind of a man to deliver them, to lead them. They just didn't have the faith. Instead, yes, sir, whatever you say, sir, you want this bad guy, we'll turn him over to you, is what they did. So their story might have been a bit different if they had had a different attitude towards God's faith in God. My sentences are getting mixed up today. Then Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah. And they were in a Philistine city.
Foxes.
Hmm?
Hide the foxes.
Hide the foxes. He's in love again. Where with the woman he was going to marry, they came and threatened to burn her to death if she didn't do what they wanted. With Delilah, they had a whole different tactic. They said, all of the leaders of the Philistine will give you a lot of money if you turn Samson over to us. Find out how we can defeat him. And she obviously was not in love with him. She said, sure, we'll do that. That sounds good to me. And so she went to him and she said, Samson, why are you so strong? What makes you so strong? And he said, oh, if they took 7 bowstrings and tied me up with 7 brand new bowstrings, why, I wouldn't be strong anymore. So he took a nap, and while he was taking a nap, she had been hiding in the room. They came and they tied him up with 7 bowstrings. She said, Samson, the Philistines are attacking. He stood up. He broke the bowstrings off like they were charred thread. and he beat them up. So she told him, Samson, you obviously don't love me because you lied to me. Never mind that she had the Philistines hiding in the room to attack him. You don't love me. So tell me how you can be defeated. That's the only way you can prove you love me. Well, if you tie me up with 7 new ropes, then I'll be weak. Well, they tried new ropes in Judea, but they did it again. She had the men hiding in the room. They tied him up. She yelled. He jumps up. He snaps the ropes off. He beats the Philistines. I wonder if he thought this was a fun game. So she again whines and complains at him. And he tells her, well, you know what? If my hair was woven into a piece of cloth and fastened to a loom, left fastened to the loom we make cloth out of, well, then I would just be weak like any other man. You notice he's getting a little closer to the truth here? So while he's asleep, he must have been a sound sleeper. She wove his hair into the cloth on the loom, and then she called him, said the Philistines are attacking. He jumped up, ripped his hair just straight out of the cloth, and he beat the Philistines up again. Time went on. She kept whining and complaining at him. And he said finally, oh, all right. I'm a Nazarite. I was dedicated to God at birth. My hair has never been cut. So he took a nap. She had a barber come in and shave all his hair off. She yelled, the Philistines are attacking. He jumped up and expected to be able to beat the Philistines up just like he always had. Now, his hair did not make him strong. God made him strong. But cutting his hair off violated the covenant that was made with God. And so he no longer had strength. So the Philistines beat him up. And they blinded him, and they took him out and had him fastened to a millstone. So he pushed a millstone around in circles instead of a cowl like most people did. They pushed the millstone around to create flour. And that's where we're going to leave Samson. He's very sorry for being stupid. I mean, you'd think he'd have figured out that she didn't have his best interests in mind. But anyway, that's where we leave Samson for today. We finish his story next week. Okay? One door.